for spending time with us today to join us in our webinar where we're going to be discussing Symposium 2018. So it was a really wonderful event that brought a lot of us together. We've had a lot of content come out of it already. We've had a wonderful chat series where we discuss some of these issues as well. But I wanted to have a little bit more of a formal webinar series start with Women of Sitecore, and it seems like a good point to get started. So first, I'm going to introduce you to our panelists. First, we have Francine Anthony, who's the Head of Global Partner Marketing for Sitecore. It was her first symposium this year, so I'm sure everybody saw Francine in particular up on stage moderating the Move the Dial panel. We also have Pamela, who is currently unable to speak, but hopefully at some point we can get those issues sorted out. Pamela is an ambassador MVP and is the president at TechSense Solutions. We also have Amy Winburn, who founded Women of Sitecore and is the Sitecore architect at Focus Brands. So Francine and Amy, do you want to give a quick intro of yourselves as well? Francine, let's start with you then.
Hello. Thanks everyone for coming today. So I had the incredible opportunity to celebrate close to my 6-month anniversary at Symposium, and it was an awesome experience. I've actually experienced law conferences, partner conferences in particular in the past, and so I'm looking forward today with sharing some of my insights and some of my experiences, both behind the scenes as well as in front of the scenes from Sitecore. Again, thanks everyone for attending.
So I'm Amy Winburn. I'm a Sitecore architect, most recently with Focus Brands. I've been doing Sitecore for a really long time, since probably 2010. You probably know me as the person that taught you how to use data sources. Beyond that, probably not much else. I've been attending symposiums for quite a long time, not recently up until now, but I did attend Dreamcore way back in the day, and things have changed a lot, and I'm excited to share what we experienced together.
Great.
Awesome. So it's kind of cool that Amy and I come at it from different ends of the spectrum. Her as a veteran and me as a newbie. So this will be fun.
Yeah, and I think the overall goal as well, Pamela has been working with Sitecore for quite a long time as well, and works really heavily on the strategy side. So, we wanted to be able to cover, Symposium from a bunch of different sides. Somebody, working at Sitecore and heavily involved in actually, getting the event running, and a bunch of cool things that read at the event. And then, somebody who'd been to Sitecore Symposium, sort of back in the day, and what did it evolve to now? So I guess what we wanted to start with is, let's talk about everybody's favorite sessions from Symposium and what they sort of took away from those sessions. So Francine, let's start with you again. What was your favorite session this year?
Boy, this may be cheating a bit. So this may be cheating a bit, but I actually had two. First of all, there was so much that I did enjoy about Symposium, so I'm just going to share some of the highlights. The first thing I want to comment on is during the keynote sessions, I really enjoyed how with the demos, there was really a focus on bringing things and bringing the experiences to life. So you didn't really just have a bunch of talking heads on a stage, which is probably more what I'm accustomed to with conferences, but we really had experiences coming to life, from the bike app that we saw, the Sick Kids video, and just I just felt like there was a lot of thought being put into how we can make things real. So that was one thing that I would speak to relative to Symposium. And this may be cheating, but I also felt that the my Move the Dial session was particularly inspirational, and not just relative to the event itself, but even before the event, I had an opportunity to get together with women from the panel, and we kind of had a Move the Dial moment as a panel even before we got up on the stage. And then it was incredible, all the conversations that I continued to have throughout the event after the session, and then moving into the Women of Sitecore panel as well. Just all of the dialogue that even continues to this day, sparked from that panel and that session. So I would have to say that those are my two best highlights from the conference, and that I take away and continue to think about.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree on the keynote thing. I think that for me, a difference this year was the keynotes and just how inspirational they were. And I remember a group of us kind of texting in WhatsApp at the time, and I think it was a really emotional moment and a really good thing to kind of be able to connect to some things that we don't always get to do in our line of work. So I definitely agree with that one. And I think, Amy might have some similar kind of perspectives on her sessions as well.
I feel really similarly. So for me, seeing all the keynotes was a real departure from what I had seen in the past. It was great. It was really great to see such a variety and such powerful presentations. I really had not anticipated that kind of a keynote experience at a Sitecore Symposium, to be honest. I would have expected more of that from, conference about inspiration. It was really, really incredible and really moving. So the keynotes were definitely a highlight. Session-wise, I think everybody's going to agree that the MVP panel that spoke was a really unifying moment for, I think, any woman who is a developer or involved in Sitecore. It was really inspiring to have all those people up there and answering questions that a lot of us have and getting some different perspectives on it and being able to kind of unite around what that means and how we need to go through the world. So I think that was absolutely the session highlight for me.
And what about the technical side, Amy? Was there anything there that you took away kind of being like, yeah, I really want to start applying this, or I really want to learn more?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that I always found as an issue when I'd attended previous symposiums was that we'd have like the intro to what's coming next, and it would be all this cool stuff, and I'd be super jazzed about what I could do with Sitecore, and then I would never get to do it. So that would always be a bit of a bummer. But this time around, I heard all the cool stuff of what's coming in 9.1, what's coming on the horizon, and everything else. And then one of the highlights was actually a presentation by Una about machine learning, where she actually walked us through how we would implement it, and a real practical example of using machine learning with Sitecore, with some real data, and how we could finally make use of something super complex in a pretty easy to understand way. So that really kind of got me both excited about what was coming with Sitecore with Cortex and also being able to actually do it. So I thought that was really, really
great. And then I guess Francine as well, from your side, was there anything especially about some of the big company announcements that, was exciting for you guys to take away as well?
I was very excited, and now granted I had a little bit of an insider's hint, but I was very excited about our Style Tech acquisition. And I don't know if anyone on the call or Amy, you had an opportunity to kind of dig a little deeper into it, but it is very impressive, and I think it will help position Sitecore in a more end-to-end fashion. So again, being new to Sitecore and seeing kind of the evolution of Sitecore, with the acquisition, some of the partnerships that we've been announcing lately, it's a very exciting to be a part of Sitecore. So I was really sparked about the announcement information and what it portends for Sitecore in the future.
Awesome. And I think we might finally have Pamela on the line as well. Maybe? Pamela, are you there? Okay. Maybe not. I'm sorry, we've been trying to work that out, and I seem to manage to turn her microphone off, on, but we're still having a little bit of an issue there. All right then. Sorry, guys. So let's kind of go away to our next topic, and that's really more about our favorite moments. So obviously we have our sessions. We had some really exciting keynotes, some really fun technical sessions. A bunch of us got to present this year, which was also really exciting. I know Pamela was, a presenter as well. I presented a session, and a bunch of other women within the community were presenting this year. Ishraf, Jackie, Una, Jill, a bunch of people. So there's plenty of names out there, which was really exciting to see this year, not to mention, our MVP panel. But, going away from that, we also had a bunch of really fun non-session related moments. I'm going to kick off with you, Amy, since, actually Francine is featured in this slide down the lower right-hand corner as well. But let's start off with you then, Amy, on this one.
Sure. Yeah, I think the highlights for me, aside from going to Harry Potter Land, which was excellent, was in this picture up here, getting to have our breakfast event, which Francine and Ola and some of the people at Sitecore helped us get organized and got us that banner for, and kind of gave us a little meeting spot for the whole symposium, which I thought was really fun. It was great to wake up and get to meet a bunch of people I didn't know and get to connect with people on like a daily basis right before going into session. So it was pretty neat and very cool. Aside from that, Harry Potter World was really great. And obviously the panels. I can't get over how good the keynotes were. I guess that's kind of what we already discussed, but it bears repeating as kind of a surprise event for me anyways. It was a surprise, and followed up with Harry Potter World.
Yeah, I think the party this year was definitely, I honestly don't know how they're going to top that next year, and we can have a discussion on that on the next slide. But
I don't know
the
how.
party was amazing.
Yes. And I'm going to add in terms of just some enjoyable moments, and this is going to sound really weird, but I have never cried so much at a corporate conference before. Just in terms of some of the Sick Kids videos, the gentleman who talked about making the impossible possible, and just I recall walking away from the making possible the impossible session, talking to one of my colleagues here at Sitecore, and he's one of our top sellers, and he was telling me, gee, I've never felt so worthless in my life. What am I doing? Obviously he's killing it in terms of his sales performance in Sitecore, but he was talking about how the session made him really introspective about what was he doing to give back to the world, to the broader community. So I make that comment because that was kind of a, you don't typically get that at corporate conferences, and I think we all should have those moments where we reflect on the things that we're doing and what we're giving back to our broader communities and our broader world. And so I just, again, being newer to Sitecore, I really applaud Sitecore for putting it out there and, bringing the sorts of speakers in that kind of sparked that thinking and that thought process in all of us. So that was definitely one of my highlights from Symposium. And then the other was in my role day to day, I work with partners, and obviously, we're all about driving business forward. But I had an opportunity to see another side of many of my partners, and it's amazing, the sort of deep, meaningful in the moment conversations you can have when you're drinking a beer or a wine or whatever it is at an amusement park with people you work with daily. So those are just some of the things that stand out to me above and beyond the keynotes and the sessions itself.
Yeah, and I'll agree on that. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I really saw some of the keynotes and definitely the kind of focus on giving back and kind of not quite charity, but I saw it as a call to challenge. It was like, okay, we're going to do things differently. And I think that in today's kind of corporate environment and really the the world that we live in now, I think we do need to have that little bit of a focus on doing things better and being better people and better humans of sorts. And I get what you mean about the like, oh, sometimes I feel sort of worthless in what I do, but I think that there's still ways that as a community we can, give back and we can, make changes in the world as well. So it was definitely emotional.
Cool. And being a Sitecore insider, I think one of the things we wanted to do with Symposium is kind of make this proclamation that we're not your old Sitecore, we're a new Sitecore. And so I'm just happy to hear that things are, maybe just having experienced prior Symposium that you talk about how, wow, this is so different from how things were done in the past, and things are being so different, and it was very purposeful. We wanted to have that impact. So just pleased to hear that it's resonating.
It was to be honest, I was shocked when I saw the sick kids ads running up there. I was just like, what is happening? Where am I? Why am I feeling like I'm gonna cry? But it was pretty amazing, and it was really neat to get the opportunity to hear about those kinds of stories. And I like the new Sitecore. I think it's a really impressive thing when you can have that kind of an experience through a corporate.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of us had experiences last year where it maybe wasn't so approachable, and especially, the lack of female representation on stage. It was so great to see people like Paige and yourself, Francine, have a prominent place within Symposium this year. I especially liked as well that Paige made a visit to MVP Summit. Those of us that have been previously would have known that that's probably not a common occurrence. And yeah, so I think that definitely from a corporate level, it's great seeing both you and Paige and the rest of the women within Sitecore actually getting up on stage and being recognized and all of that as well.
That's great to hear, and I can let you know that Mark Frost, our CEO, he was adamant that we would not have a repeat of of what happened before. And I'll tell you a little story. Mark is a very, very approachable guy. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to chat with him, at a conference or whatever. But I recall one night I was working a little late, and so he came by my desk and he said, "Are you working on Symposium?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I have a little piece." And then he said, "Well, we need to have more women on stage, at least 50%. And then he walked away, and then he walked back to my desk and he said, "No, we need to have all women on stage." And I was like, whoa, and so this was maybe a month into my Sitecore tenure or so. And so I just put that out there to let you guys know that there definitely is a deep commitment that I'm very proud to see was reflected this year in what you experienced with Sitecore and on the main stage in particular.
That's really exciting to hear. I know I was really excited to see people walking around with Women of Sitecore t-shirts, the Rosie Symposia t-shirts, which have now turned limited edition. Sorry to those that missed out. But also the Women of Sitecore pins, and seeing, Mark and Paige up on stage with, Women of Sitecore pins was really exciting from my side as well. Sorry, Amy, I missed you a little bit there.
I just said that was the best. It made my day every time I saw one. It was great.
Yeah, it was really excited. And I'm sure that there's lots of people in the audience here who are still using their the water bottles from Horizontal Integration that we got at the Move the Dial panel as well. I know I pulled mine out at a meeting just yesterday. So
awesome.
Moving the way through. And I think that kind of leads us into, next year and, what we want to see from Sitecore next year, what we're excited technology-wise and platform-wise. You know, are we excited about 9.1? Are we excited about Cortex? You know, are we excited about Star Labs? And also what we want to see at Symposium. I think unlike 2000 oh gosh, I'm getting my years mixed up already. Unlike 2017, we didn't find out where next year's Symposium is. So, you know, it's a little, where do we want to see it? Where would we like to go? What do we want to see for the party? And also, and yeah, let's get those parts out of the way first. Francine, what are you looking forward to in 2019?
So this year we had, and I took careful note of when Paige talked about this, we had our first annual Women in Tech session, and so I hope to expand on that even more next year. I don't know what that means, but I definitely, you know, want to see something bigger and better, if there's such a thing, for next year around women in tech. So that's definitely one thing I'm looking forward to. And I'm beginning this little lobbying effort because I think that Maui or Oahu sounds awfully appealing for a Sitecore Symposium location.
It's going to snow here in 2 days.
I'm having a little fun with that.
Yeah, we're getting snow in 2 days apparently, so I would probably agree with that statement. Heddle's probably already had some snow, so definitely. Amy, what about you?
I'm going to go ahead and second, let's go to Hawaii. Sounds the best place to have a symposium. I don't know where the party is. I don't think I care. It can be anywhere. We don't need a party. We can just go to Hawaii. As far as next year, I'm really hoping we get to have some more get-togethers with the Women of Sitecore, which I think won't be a problem. I'm hoping we have more people come out to those things. I'm hoping to see more panelists. I'm hoping there's too many MVPs that are women to have a women MVP panel. And I'm hoping that there can be a large tech panel of women as well that gets to present on the big stage. As far as tech-wise, I have a lot of hopes for next year. I'm hoping we see Style Labs integrated with Sitecore and how that can integrate into the media library and other places where we can, you know, really close those gaps. I'm hoping to see examples of people that are making use of Cortex and all the other cool stuff that's been added. I'm planning on using 9.1 upcoming, so I'm pretty excited about JSS and all of that stuff happening very soon for me. So I'm just hoping that we get to see those things implemented and examples of them, and maybe some demos of Horizon and things like that. Also in Hawaii.
Amy, you went to a pre-conference training as well, didn't you?
Yes, I went to the JSS training. It was great. I think it was kind of what I had thought it might be. I'm hoping that next year they might have some maybe advanced versions, some more in-depth classes, so that we can kind of deep dive as implementers, so that we can kind of like hit the ground running. But that could probably take like a full day as opposed to the half-day sessions that they offered.
So if anyone watching this is considering doing one of the pre-conference training, is it something that you would recommend?
I think if you are not so familiar with the technology and want to kind of get your foot in the door and get ready, it's a really great way to get going with it. The whole class got all set up using JSS. We got our local instances running, so it was a really helpful class, and I'd recommend it. So if you're not familiar with something and they're offering something, take it. If you think you're going to be doing that in the future, or you're just interested.
Yeah.
Cool. I forgot about that in the earlier thing, so I thought I would just bring it up as well.
Yeah. One other thought that I'm interested in pursuing for next year, and it needs to be, the thinking needs to be fleshed out a bit more, but it would be great if there could be kind of a matchmaking in terms of mentorship, so that if you have a challenge or an issue or whatever the case may be, that there's an opportunity to connect up with someone one-on-one who can, either help you with whatever the challenge or issue is, or perhaps collaborate in some way, towards the end goal of addressing the issue, or whatever the case may be. So I'm interested in setting up that type of one-on-one mentorship for next year's symposium. And while the idea did spark out of some of the things that came out of comments around mentorship during the Women in Tech session or the Move the Dial section, I think it can be broader, So that's one thing that I'm interested in bringing forward for next year as well.
Amy, do you want to comment on that as well?
I mean, that sounds great. I think that would help prevent everyone from going up to the microphone and asking you to be their mentor. Otherwise, you're going to be inundated with a lot of mentees.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be a great way to kind of also get people to get to know each other. I think part of the fun of Symposium, I would guess, is that you get to meet these people that you don't get to see that often. But I think there are a lot of people that end up not knowing people when they get there. And I think having something like that set up, some kind of like quasi matchmaking service for, colleagues and mentors, could be really helpful and could help their symposium experience be a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I see.
Sorry, Francine.
No, I was just going to say that Pamela mentioned in the chat window a Genius Bar type of setup that they used to have at Symposium.
Yes, so the Genius Bar at Symposium last year was Sitecore staff, so from the technical consulting team, which is predominantly male at Sitecore. So, I think that there's definitely something to be said about kind of creating relationships between women within the community. And I think that most people, Hedel has indicated that she's in, but I think most people that are, part of the community are, willing to create those relationships as well. The problem that we have is getting the new people in. So getting, people aware of what's going on and, feeling that they can ask people as well. So the matchmaking side sounds really cool. Now, Pamela wants to staff the Genius Bar with women. So, which I agree. I think it's a good idea. So maybe that's something to pitch along with a kind of an addition. Maybe we shouldn't call it matchmaking because, a matchmaking app at a technical conference maybe might send the wrong impression.
Yeah, we would definitely have to call it something different. Yes.
But yeah, so I guess the last thing that I wanted to talk about in 2019 was really what people wanted to see out of the community. And I think the mentoring idea definitely leads into that. And, that obviously something that people want to see out of the community is, mentoring. We're, trying to get started with these webinars so that we can kind of connect people. We are going to have another one next week. So I will be kind of providing the details on the last slide there as well. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think that the merchandise that we had and the pins went down really well, and I'd really like to see, I've kind of floated the idea of having limited edition yearly pins for Symposium. I'm just going to see if I can pull that off. So that's, from my side, Amy, 2019 and Women of Sitecore, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking so many things. I have a lot of big plans for what we can do with Women of Sitecore. Primarily, it's getting more people involved. Hopefully, more women want to get involved, and we can kind of get a larger group formed and really get that going, really start having dialogues and conversations so we can bring that into more constructive blog posts, into webinars, into more mentorship opportunities, and more outreach within the community that already exists. So I'm hoping that the more we build it, the more people will come, the more they'll want to stay. And that's kind of my whole goal with all of it, especially ramping up into Symposium. And that's kind of the culmination, our moment to get together and celebrate what we've done and where we've come and how we've kind of come together. So I have a lot of plans and a lot of big hopes for what we can accomplish this coming year.
And Francine, I know that you've kind of been mentioning on Slack your I can't remember how many days you were doing. Was it 30 days of promoting?
Actually, it's 10 days, and just FYI for everyone. Yeah, it's so you know so as a background for those who aren't aware, coming out of the session or in all the engagement at Symposium, I just felt like, wow, you know, how do I keep this going? And so last week I also attended the Move the Dial conference in Toronto and had that same revelation. And so what I've done is I've embraced Jody Kovitz's words to heart, and she talks about how if you just go out of your way a little bit and just do a little thing, if we're all doing little things add up to have big impact. So I decided to do a 10-day challenge to myself, and I've been tweeting about it just as a way of holding myself accountable to every single day do something where I go out of my way to help another woman. And so today is day 6, and one of the revelations that I've been struck with is, and it's a little bit sad, but how much out of my way it feels. So it's not a natural enough motion. And so day after day, I've found myself thinking, okay, what am I going to do? You know, how am I going to help another woman today? And I would love for myself and for all of us to get to a point where that's more ingrained and more natural. And that's in part what I hope to accomplish with the 10-day challenge to myself. Not only a way to hold myself accountable after attending this wonderful conference, but that it'll help me make it a more ingrained behavior and that it will be more natural. So I'm on day 6 now. And it's been going well, but again, I've had to kind of move outside of the comfort zone a little bit to make some of the actions happen.
What I want to know is, do you have a hashtag that if other people want to join in and do a 10-day challenge themselves, that they can join in with Francine's 10-day challenge?
I love that idea. I think I may have to start one. So maybe what's a good one? Hashtag move the dial in 10 days. Is that too much?
I don't think we can move it in 10 days. It's kind of baby steps in 10 days. Or I don't know. I mean, definitely I think the audience here is going to have some good ideas. Amy has just come off mute, so she might have an idea for that.
I think it's fair to say any step is still a step. So I think the fact that you're trying and that we all kind of want to jump on this and also try is a big deal, and it can be enough even if it's a little step. So I think don't be too hard on yourself, Francine. I think you're doing awesome, and I think we can all kind of take a minute to pat ourselves on the back for taking any step, because it's still a step.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, I mean, if anybody in the audience has an idea for a hashtag, or Francine, if you want to go with the Move the Dial in 10 days, and anybody else here listening now or listening afterwards wants to take up the challenge, sorry, maybe tag Francine and let's get started. I think if everybody here can do, you know, one thing a day for 10 days, move it in 10. I actually like that. That's Amy's suggestion there. But yeah, I think if everybody here in the audience can do that, I think we're making, you know, really big steps together. So, and I think Francine's a wonderful thing.
And so, in the interest of collective movement, why not just I won't say challenge, but I ask everyone to think about implementing their own challenge and just hashtag move the dial. And if you want to give me a little Twitter credit for inspiring you, I'd love that as well. I'll retweet. And Jody Kovitz, again, the CEO and founder of Move the Dial, she's following me every day and retweeting out through their Move the Dial handle. So I would just encourage maybe, you know, as Jody puts it, small movements can have big impact, and maybe collectively we can all have a huge impact as we, challenge ourselves. So I'll put that out there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great idea, and it's a wonderful thing that you've been doing as well. Yeah, so I think if, Francine and Amy, if you guys have any final words that you want to say, otherwise I think we've kind of gone through everything. Well, I'm sure we could all talk for hours, but it's getting late here on the East Coast, I know.
Yes. Well, I'll just close on my end by thanking you for having me and for holding this forum. And I do hope that there is an opportunity for us to have a gathering before the next symposium. So maybe that's something that we can think about as well.
Definitely. And I know that there are a bunch of people who are looking at going to SugCon. I always mix up saying that and I get it wrong. So, I think there's definitely some, room there on the, it's mostly the tech side. But yeah, I think Amy's definitely well on board with organizing some other meetups and things.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board. I also wanted to say thanks for joining us. Thanks for having me on as a panelist. Yeah, I'm excited for what we're going to do this year, and hopefully have a meetup, because that would be rad.
Great. So yeah, once again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Francine and Amy, for speaking with us today. And thank you also to Pamela. I'm sorry we couldn't get things running. Hopefully we'll be able to sort it out next time as well, because we definitely, would have liked to have heard kind of your side from a strategy point of view. I've tried to fill in with my views, but I don't think they're quite as good. On the front for what's next. Next week on Monday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going during the day this time. We have Shu and Courtney talking about Glassmapper version 5. So I'll be opening the next one up for registration probably tomorrow. So yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for everybody for joining, and if you're interested in learning more about working with Glassmapper, make sure to keep an eye on the Women of Sitecore Twitter. Join us on Slack and visit our website if you haven't already. And again, thank you very much for attending, and the webinar has been recorded, as I said, so you will be able to kind of review it if you did want to. And let's continue the conversation on Slack and also the forums. So don't forget, we do have Women of Sitecore forums, and we would definitely like to see more activity on there if anyone has anything to post. All right, once again, thank you everybody, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.